also like to thank Alex for bringing a new demographic to the sport. I really appreciate it.
There is a piece of paper somewhere in Toronto that 3 months ago would have been worth about $40 Canadian. It was a session ticket to the National Bank Open Night session at Sobeys Stadium. On the Friday the schedule dropped, that piece of paper stopped existing in about 30 minutes. The Filipino community had been calling for months. When does she play?
Filipino community for months now has been calling in asking, when does she play? Who does she play? Where does she?
Who does she play? Where does she play? Tennis Canada confirmed the number to Sportsnet. Roughly 3,100 tickets moved in that window. Then the inventory was gone. The name on the schedule was Alex Eala. She was seeded 25th. She was ranked at the moment those tickets vanished, outside the world's top 20. By every convention this sport has operated on for the last 2 decades, that session should not have been the first thing to sell out in the building. Coco Gauff is the world number 2. Elena Rybakina is a recent Wimbledon champion. Aryna Sabalenka sits near the top of the rankings. And yet the room reoriented. This is not the story of a match. It is the story of a ticket and what a ticket can prove. The 5 days that produced this moment are worth mapping carefully because they compress an entire career shift into something you can hold in one hand. On August 3rd in Washington, Eala defeated the world number 3, Jessica Pegula, 4-6, 6-4, 6-0, and became the first player from the Philippines, man or woman, to win a WTA Tour singles title. 2 days later, she walked onto center court in Toronto for the first time in her life in front of a sold-out crowd and beat Alicia Parks in 3 sets. 2 days after that, going into August 8th, she survived Katie McNally's 6-3, 5-7, 6-4 while playing on a foot that required multiple medical timeouts. Champion on Monday. Sellout on Wednesday. Survivor on Friday. The tension inside this story is easy to misstate, so let's state it correctly. This is not Eala versus Gauff. Coco Gauff has been one of the loudest public admirers of what Eala is building. At a press conference during this stretch of the North American swing, Gauff said, verbatim, sourced through Tennis World USA and cross-cited by Yahoo Sports on August 7th, I think that's just so great that one player can really bridge the gap between like a sport and a nation that maybe hadn't had that representation before. Gauff has told reporters she loves playing in the environments Eala's crowds create. She has compared the atmosphere to basketball, to a World Cup. The tension is not personal. The tension is structural. For 20 years, the ticket economy of a WTA 1000 level event has followed a predictable order. The highest seeds sell the fastest. The Americans sell the fastest in North America. The reigning Slam champions sell the fastest anywhere. Eala broke that order without asking it for permission. Her round of 32-night session went before Gauff's center court appearances filled. Gauff's earlier Toronto match was in fact scheduled on the grandstand, not center. This is not a slight to Gauff, who remains one of the most bankable names in the sport. It is a data point about a new kind of gravity that has arrived in tennis and does not yet fit the old spreadsheets. The room now has 2 centers. That is what the shock means here. Not that the WTA held an emergency meeting, but that a tournament director with 20 years of experience is on camera saying he has never seen anything like it. The evidence for that gravity begins with the market itself. 3,100 tickets in 30 minutes. That is not a fan club phenomenon. That is a market signal, the kind of throughput that resale platforms and event operators track carefully because it tells them where to point money next year. And the room those tickets were bought for was not a side stage. Sobeys Stadium's center court, according to tournament director Carl Hale, seats 10,077 people. The Filipino community filled it. They filled it again for the second round. Multiple secondary reports out of Manila and Toronto tracked resale prices climbing sharply above face value, with baseline seats that had been listed near $40 reportedly moving for triple that on aftermarket sites. Treat the exact multiples as reported rather than confirmed, but the direction of the pricing is not in dispute. Demand outstripped supply, and it did so in the largest room the tournament owns. Then there is the man watching from the operations office. Carl Hale has run this tournament for close to 2 decades. He told ABS-CBN on August 6 that Alex Eala is an absolute blessing to tennis. He framed the Filipino community's turnout as something that had been building for months, not something that arrived the week of the tournament, but something the operations team had been watching accumulate since the schedule was announced. His exact framing is on the record. The 10,077-seat center court sold out for her opening match, and he had not seen this specific pattern in his 20 years on the job. That is Tier 1 authority. That is not a fan account. That is the person whose job depends on knowing what a room will do. And his job this week taught him something new. Which brings us to the peer validation. Coco Gauff again at the press conference. I think it's great for the sport and for all the players. She's obviously the one leading the movement in that region, but I think it's opening people's eyes. After her own match in Dubai earlier in the year, Gauff said a wave of Filipino fans came out to support her, not because of anything she had done against Eala, but because of complimentary comments she had made about Eala after their previous meeting. Gauff called that super cool. Leylah Fernandez, whose mother is Filipino and who is the Canadian home player in Toronto, has spoken this week about the same fan energy. Jessica Pegula, after losing the DC final, acknowledged the passion of the Filipino crowd, the same crowd she had been on the other side of earlier in her career. For different players, for different perspectives. One shared observation: the atmosphere Eala carries is not standard tennis atmosphere. It is something the tour has not fully calibrated for yet. Take a breath here, because the next cluster is where the numbers stop being business and start being biography. What did she actually do to earn this? Because a ticket rush that is not backed by a scoreline is a novelty act. Eala's is backed. On August 3rd, she came from behind to beat Jessica Pegula, the world number 3, in a WTA 500 final, a bagel in the third set, 6-0 against a player who is a top 5 fixture on hard courts. That was her 7th top 10 win of the year. 2 days later, she became the first Filipino, man or woman, ever to win a main draw match at the National Bank Open. She said afterward, in her own words to WTA, "Come. Toronto is such a multicultural city, so it's nice for me to be here for the first time. Experience that culture. Experience that atmosphere. I felt very at home with all the people supporting me." That is not a rehearsed champion line. That is a 21-year-old locating herself inside a room she has never been in before and realizing the room already knew her name. Then, the ranking that finally caught up to the story. She is now, per the official WTA rankings page, world number 20, career high, first Filipino ever to reach the top 20 in the Open era. Prize money for the year sits at just over $1.5 million U.S. Season record 35-18. One title. That is the arithmetic of a player whose room finally matches her ranking and whose ranking finally matches her results. For most of her career, one of those 3 numbers has been ahead of the others. This week in Toronto, they lined up. And the moment they lined up, the ticket vanished in 30 minutes. The climax of the evidence, though, the moment that will stay with anyone who watched it, was not the sellout, and it was not the ranking. It was what happened on the court against Katie McNally. Eala won the first set 6-3. She broke early in the second. Then something in her right foot went wrong. The National Bank Open's own recap described her requiring treatment multiple times, grimacing, her movement visibly hampered. She twice let break lead slip. McNally broke her in the 12th game to force a decider. This is the part where, in a normal script, the 21-year-old sold-out sensation retires and the crowd goes home quietly. Eala did not retire. She reset. She broke McNally in the opening game of the third set, held that single break the entire way, and closed out the match 6-3, 5-7, 6-4. The stadium that had bought its tickets in 30 minutes did not sit down for the entire third set. If you want the single image that condenses this whole story, it is that one. A player who should not have been the biggest ticket in the building, playing on a foot that should not have been able to carry a match, being carried instead by a room she had built one convert at a time over the previous 8 months. Carl Hale one more time because his authority is doing so much work here. This is a man who has watched Serena Williams play this tournament. Venus, Halep, Osaka, Swiatek. He has seen what a superstar crowd looks like in Toronto. And what he said on the record on August 6 was that the response to Eala this year, a player still ranked outside the top 10 in her first appearance at the event, was something he had not experienced in 20 years of the job. The precise word he used was blessing. He also said, and this is the operational detail that matters most, that the Filipino community had been reaching out to the tournament for months in advance. Not the week of. Not after the DC title. Months. That means the ticket rush was not a viral reaction to a headline. It was an infrastructure that had been quietly assembling since before Eala's ranking justified it, waiting for the schedule to drop. When the schedule dropped, the infrastructure activated, and the room was full inside half an hour. Coco Gauff, the peer voice, added the other half of the validation. One player can really bridge the gap between a sport and a nation that maybe hadn't had that representation before. That is not a compliment. That is a diagnosis from the world number 2 describing what she is watching. The tour is not in denial about this. The tour is on the record from multiple mouths saying it out loud. The stakes then extend beyond Toronto. There had never been a WTA singles champion from the Philippines before August 3rd of this year. There is one now. That is a fact that will appear in tennis reference books for as long as tennis reference books exist. And it happened 5 days before the sellout we have been describing. Every WTA 1000 tournament from now on will look at the Toronto data, 3,100 tickets in 30 minutes, a 10,000 seat room filled for a 25th seeds opening round, and it will change how they schedule, how they market, and how they price. That is not a prediction. That is what happens when a market signal this loud arrives. The immediate next chapter is the 4th round in Toronto against Leylah Fernandez. Fernandez has a Filipino mother. Fernandez is Canadian. The stadium for that match will contain 2 heritages inside a single roar, a Filipino-Canadian home player facing the first Filipino WTA champion in a Canadian arena. Eala and Fernandez already met in Washington 10 days earlier. Eala won 6-2, 7-6. If Eala wins in Toronto, the potential quarterfinal is Coco Gauff. If that match happens, the ticket for that session will be the most watched piece of paper in North American women's tennis this month. Beyond Toronto, Cincinnati is next, then the US Open. The rest of this hard-court summer is now hers to define, and the tour knows it. The vulnerability that runs underneath all of this is real. The foot did not heal itself between the 2nd and 3rd sets of the McNally match. It just held. There is limited recovery time between matches. Earlier in the season, Eala lost to Coco Gauff in Dubai by a decisive score, a reminder that on a bad day in the wrong matchup the gap is still real. In January, she lost her Australian Open opener to Alicia Parks, the same player she later beat in Toronto's first round. She is not invincible. She is not the finished article. She is 21 years old in the middle of a compression that has taken her from ranked in the 50s to a top 20 tour champion inside a few months, and the body is being asked to keep pace with something that is essentially a cultural event moving through it. That she is still winning on a foot that required in-match treatment, in front of a crowd that would not sit down, is not a sign that she has arrived. It is a sign that she is still arriving in public in real time with the whole room watching. So look at the room she is in now. She is in a room where a tournament director with 2 decades of experience is on the record saying he has never seen this before. She is in a room where the world number 2 is describing her, unprompted, as the person bridging a sport and a nation. She is in a room where the ticket for her session in the biggest court the tournament owns was gone in the time it takes to eat dinner. She is in a room 10,077 seats deep that did not exist for any Filipino athlete before her, because she is the one who built it. 3 months ago, that room was empty. This week it was the loudest room in the tournament, and it stayed loud even when her foot could not fully carry her, because by then the room was carrying her. That is what the ticket at the top of this story was proof of. Not that Alex Eala beat Coco Gauff on the schedule, because that framing misses the point. The point is that the schedule now has 2 headliners where it used to have 1, and the second one arrived, undeniably, on Friday night in Toronto in a session that sold out before dinner. If you have followed this channel to this point, subscribe, because the next round is Fernandez and the round after that is potentially Gauff. And if the schedule dropped again tomorrow, that ticket would be gone in 30 minutes too. The room she is in now is a room she does not have to earn her way back into. She lives there. Tennis diaries where the ones who saw the ticket vanish stay until the next one does.